So now we are going to turn to our next storyteller. So I would like to introduce Judith Zawatsky. Judith is the Assistant Commissioner for the Office of Systems Management at the General Services Administration. Say that 3 times fast. But more than that, she's one of the most outside of the box thinkers I know. She sits really at the heart of government-wide technology modernization initiatives, and she knows those systems inside and out. But she's really always asking these important questions. How will this impact people? How will this impact my team? How will this impact our partnering federal agencies and ultimately the American public? I had the opportunity to work with Judith for 3 years, and I really truly credit her as one of my mentors and favorite public servants. So I am excited to hear your story, Judith, of what you faced this last year, what you learned, and of course, your hopes for the future. And please, as Judith speaks, everyone is welcome to add comments or questions to the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. Take it away, Judith.
Hey, everybody. I really want to thank everyone for inviting me to come speak today. It's very exciting to come, well, talk about yourself and talk about your organization and really be part of Public Service Recognition Week. I have to say this, I work with some of the best public servants in government, and I don't mean just on my team or just at GSA, but across governments. And it feels odd to just say for 1 week, hey, we really appreciate the work that you do, because the team I work with works days, works nights, works weekends to make this mission happen. So I do want to share a little bit of my story. So on March 10th, 2020, I went and I got my hair cut and I got my hair colored and I got my hair straightened. And on March 12th, I had to go in, this is why I did all that, I had to go in to have a new official portrait. They didn't like my previous official portrait and they said, you got to come in. So hence I spent all this money getting my hair done and went and had the official portrait. And on my way out the door, I knew that we were going into some more mandatory telework at that point. And on my way out the door, I packed up a few things, made sure I had my laptop and my notebook, and saw a colleague who was, packing up and going. And then I went to Castle and Elephant in DC, or Elephant Castle, and I had a drink with a colleague and I came home. And I thought, a week or two, we'll be back in the office and everything. So that was sort of my naivete. I know exactly my last moments in the office, getting my picture taken. I had no idea, like any of us, I really had no idea what was going on. And then it became very obvious what was happening with the pandemic. And I don't have an enormous staff. I'd say we're about 70 people. Of feds, but a mission, as Joy Wynn explained, across all of government. So I tried to meet with every single one of these 70 people. I really tried to understand what was going on with them. I tried to reassure them. I tried to share the messages that was coming down from agency leadership. Where are we going? When's it going to happen? What's going on? And really inspire everyone to keep everything going. And we can do this and we can all this. Here's a secret. I don't think I knew what I was doing. I mean, I did it, but I have to tell you, I was petrified. All the while, I was trying to keep it together. I was scared for my own family and friends. I had a house full of young adults who had come home. One and unceremoniously finished his college senior year. One unceremoniously finished his high school year. And I had extracted 2 young adults out of Manhattan in like a military style extraction at the beginning of the pandemic. So, my house was full, the Wi-Fi was being used, nobody knew what was going on. And as a mother, I was trying to reassure my family. As a sibling, I was trying to reassure my family. As a boss, I was trying to reassure my staff about things I didn't know. And so when we talk, I love that Dennis is here, because I'm not sure if what we pulled off was a magic trick or an illusion. But the story is that we did. The team stayed on mission. We run a set of systems that service the entirety of the federal government. They cannot go down. They really cannot go down. We didn't go down. We kept competitions going. We awarded contracts. We made progress. We took 100 people who normally gathered in person to do planning sessions for agile delivery, and we pivoted them to do them online. We kept all of our capacity moving the way that it went to be. Here's what I learned. This is what I learned, that while we were more physically distant, we became closer because we came into each other's houses. People saw my children's shoes. I specifically chose a backdrop that allowed people to see who I am. And I specifically gave my staff an opportunity to tell me who they are. And I really got to know them a lot better. And I will tell you, we're not at the end of this. We're still on mandatory telework, but I now have 70 staff members whom I treasure as individuals, less and less just about what they deliver to the mission. And that's made me much richer. So thanks.
Awesome, Judith. Thank you so much. You know, something you and I have talked a little bit about is traditionally in government, we can be somewhat hierarchical, even just our grading system. And so information filters up and we don't always get a view of what's going on. And I think you had a slightly different experience in interacting with your staff, more of a meritocracy. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, so, you know, I think we all have been through this. You know, the whole thing about where do you sit in a conference room? Remember the generation whereas if you sat at the top, you know, the front of the table, like a parent at the front of a table. And then we moved to a generation where the power seat was the center of the conference room table, if you remember that. And who sits at the table and who sits behind the principals at the table, who comes into the room first, who comes into the room last, you know, all of those sort of bits. On Zoom or whatever app you're using to convene, there's no conference table. We're all there. And everybody has exactly the same size box and exactly the same volume. And what I did find, I will tell you also, Joy Wynn, is that this has been the advocacy of people who were much more shy to speak up. I have found that teammates who were hesitant to bring their voice to the table are doing so now.
And I know GSA has a tradition of, I think they're called skip level meetings, but you had mentioned that you met with every single person on your team. And how did that change kind of the voices you heard? And how are you thinking about if and when we go back, or what are you going to keep from this experience and take forward, and kind of how you manage and the voices you listen to?
So way beyond the skips, I just basically opened up my calendar and let people sign up for blocks of time. And first of all, I really got to know people that I functionally did not. I only knew what they delivered to the mission. And I found out who was alone. This was really important in a pandemic. I found out who was alone. I found out who was sheltering in place with extended family. I found out who had medical concerns, within the scale and scope of what they wanted to share with me. And I think that allowed me and my leadership team to become much more empathetic leaders and to really deliver to them and be flexible in ways that we wouldn't have if they had not invited me into their home. We've done that now twice. And again, it's open to anybody who wants to do it. Going forward, I don't know what the future of work at GSA or in the federal government's going to look like. I don't know how many days we're coming in or we're not coming in. But going forward, my really big takeaway is to ensure that we really know, and I really know the people I'm working with at an authentic level and not just a product level, as well as bringing those voices to the table. It has enriched our ability to deliver on our mission, not just us as people, and yes, us as a people. And so that's really important to me.
Thank you so much, Judith, for sharing. It really is, I've known you as a leader for a long time, but it's interesting to learn about how you reacted in this really specific time. So thank you for sharing.